Hi there, good evening everyone. So glad to have you on the Paint Party live stream. This is episode 52 of the live stream. We've been doing this 52 weeks, not consecutively, but we have now reached a year's worth of live streams. Can you believe it? Those of you who've been here from the beginning, I'm betting Lola, you're here, and several others who have been from the beginning. I appreciate each and every one of you joining me on the live stream. This is so much fun. It started as just an experiment, but has turned into something that I really look forward to every week. Painting with you all, learning as I go, and exploring this new exciting world for me in paint. So this week I have done some new things. If you follow on Instagram, you may have seen these, but I wanted to show you all what I have been up to. I hope your week is going great and that you are kicking off 2022 with a bang. I have started some new habits that I hope will continue into this new year, and am excited about the new year. There's a lot of new opportunities coming to me and a lot of things that I'm excited about in the new year, and I hope it's the same for you in 2022. So this week I did quite a few different paintings here in the studio. I got a little more time than I usually do in the studio. And so the first thing that I worked on that was really fun this week was a simple painting of a teacup set. I just thought this was a really pretty little painting to do, and it was a lot of fun experimenting in how to render kind of this cream white color in a way that showed three dimensions and was, yeah, that showed form. So that was a lot of fun, kind of exploring that and digging into that. So I did that earlier in the week. If you were on Instagram, or if you want to go to Instagram, you could check that out and see the progress photos for this painting. But that was a fun little painting I did this week. And then yesterday or the day before, I worked on some other paintings. Oh, there it is. Something new. So I have in my studio a medium, a gloss medium that is a gel that you mix with paint, and it extends your paint so that basically this is a white color. You mix your paint, and so you can paint more using this gel, which is less expensive than the actual paint. It also is it takes a little bit longer to dry, and it also gives the paint more thickness or more body in the paint. So one of the things I experimented in this painting, you can see, is some of those features, and I use some of the neon paints that I have that I don't use in the paintings that I'm doing of real life, but this was something fun. It was totally different, and I painted this entirely with palette knife, except for the background. The background I painted with a brush, but the flowers and the pot and everything else was done only with a palette knife. And if you're not familiar with what a palette knife looks like, that is, oh, there. You can kind of see it has kind of a flat edge, but you don't get a lot of detail with something like this, and it's pretty broad. So this is the type of painting you get with the palette knife. The fun thing is, if I hold it up close, you can see the texture that is really fun. So you get a completely different feel from what you might normally get with a paintbrush. So it is more, maybe not really, well, I guess it's kind of impressionist in the style, but it is a lot of fun. And so that was something totally different. A lot of people like this, and I kind of enjoyed this, just exploring with it. So I may do some more paintings like this just for fun, and just to explore that style and technique some more. And then I started something that I've been telling you all for weeks and weeks, maybe even months, that I needed to do. So I just started this, but this is the first attempt at portraiture. I am just starting. You can tell it's basically a face. but I'm just starting to get the lights, darks, and some of the form put in. But I'm going to be exploring this more as I go. So I wanted to show these to you because I did them off camera, and this is something I've been talking about for several months. So eventually, I think we will get where I do some portraiture on camera for the live stream. It's easier to get reference photos for inanimate objects, since portraits of people are excluded in my Facebook group where I get reference photos. So, but this is one I'm starting, and we will see how it goes. It is definitely a different kind of style of painting, a different subject matter, and it is more challenging just because if human features are messed up, it's hard to make adjustments so that they look right. It's easy to get off track with that. So that is what I have been up to in the studio this week, and I hope that you all have enjoyed your week as well. All right. Yes, Lola. Welcome, welcome. I saw that you were in the room, and Bob G is also here. 52 weeks makes a whole year. Yeah, we're at a whole year of live streams. It's taken about a year and a half, or maybe a year and a quarter, to get to 52 because we had several weeks, especially this summer, where I didn't do live streams because of the robbery. Good news on the robbery. I have been dealing with that over the last 6 months or so, but this last week, my insurance company called me, and the final component that was outstanding was damage to the U-Haul trailer itself, the truck. I was going to owe about $5,000 out of pocket, but for some reason, they reconsidered and they extended the coverage for that for the U-Haul. So I was only responsible for the deductible. I don't know what made them change their mind. They'd already denied the claim twice, but I am not going to look that gift horse in the mouth too long. I definitely took that, and as it apparently has already actually been settled between U-Haul's insurance company and my insurance company. So I am grateful that this kind of saga of drama is wrapping up very, very quickly after kind of being extended over the last several months. But I'm excited. So that is independent of what we're here for tonight. So let's jump into the painting for this evening. Let me pull up a reference photo of what we're going to be working on today. I thought this was a really fun picture that is well composed already by the original photographer, but I thought it'd be fun to paint because it's number one glass, which can be challenging. Also, it's a glass vase full of cherries, and so for the most part, it's one color of cherry. I mean, there's just one color. They're all red, different tones of red, and so I think that will be a challenge this evening. So let's jump in to this painting. I have not toned my canvas at all, but let me pull you all in a little bit closer. I wonder if I'm going to check. I do not see our Facebook people here, and I am wondering if I went live on Facebook. Let me just check that real quick. Hey there, Jay. Thanks so much for popping in and checking it out. I hope you have a profitable shift. Usually Monday nights are slower, at least when I was in that industry. So maybe it will probably be slow, but that's unfortunately ends up then not being as profitable if you don't have as many customers coming in. So, all right, let's see. Pardon the delay as my computer gets slow when I'm live streaming, but I do want to check. I guess I could have checked on my phone. Let me see. Nope, it doesn't look like we went live on Facebook. That's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. It did that last week where it didn't go live on Facebook. Oh, wait, maybe. Nope. Doesn't look like I went live on Facebook. Oh, well, that's frustrating, but hopefully the Facebook pals will pop over to YouTube and check us out. Otherwise, they will miss it. All right, so let's dive into this painting. What we want to do first is kind of put in some kind of framework. So we want to kind of lay out some composition. So let's see. All right, I am going to, oh, I don't have my palette, so you can see, let's see, there. Just putting this yellow ochre there. We'll eventually need white, but a lot of this background is going to be that kind of yellow, maybe a little raw sienna. So let's lay in some of this so that we kind of get a little bit of our perspective or this laid in, and that will help. By putting some of this background in, it's going to help us tone some of the canvas, because we'll need to come back and do additional layers of this color. But let's put in some fairly bright yellow. That's going to be more yellow than is actually in the reference photo, but I think it will help help us. So we'll just kind of put some basic, see if we can get some idea of the form here. Welcome, welcome to those of you popping in here a few minutes in. We're just kind of laying in composition a little bit, covering some of this canvas. Since I didn't pre-tone it, I'm just putting some of this background color in a little bit just to cover the canvas. Then we'll decide how we want to, we may want to change that a little bit, but now I want to put a little bit this burnt umber here. This will give us kind of a shadow color. We'll put a little bit of red in that. Let's kind of put into this background the suggestion, at least, of a corner. That's kind of what we'll do. There. Just kind of blend in a little bit. We'll just see. And then we'll put some shadow, kind of give ourselves a little bit of this shadow here. We can come back in and define that better or not, but we'll put some shadow over here on the wall. where we see that. This is pretty much all in shadow, but we can define that better as we go. Wonder, there we go. We'll put little, by adding a little bit of blue to this, I don't know if it will show on screen, but adding a little blue, it tones down this brown and gives us the feel of a little, it's a little like it's in shadow, but it's still the light color. So we put a little blue, and you can see that on my palette, how that is much more cooler than this. This is much more warm in the color palette. So that gives us some room to play on this back wall. Man, the paint is drying fast tonight. Okay, so that kind of gives us the idea. There's some over here, then kind of put some light here, and this will be lighter, and we can make adjustments to that as we go. We'll give some light. Okay, so we kind of have a start of the composition. Now what I want to do is come in and put in some of the basic composition. So let's do some, taking our filbert brush, which is a small, relatively small brush. I want to come in and start adding the basics of this painting. So first, let's do kind of where we want trying to think. This is the challenge, because this glass is so clear and there's no color to it. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, isn't it? So let me do some magenta, some crimson, and some brilliant red, or kind of cad red. We'll put that there. So let's kind of figure out about where we want these cherries. I don't know that this is the best decision, but we can always change it. Then what I'm debating is whether I want to actually draw in kind of if I want to draw in the spot itself, or not the spot, but the vase itself. Huh. Or if I want to just go in and start the cherries, because there's, so in this it's more complex than it seems, the composition, because we have the cherries, but we also have the glare, we have the glass, and we have the glare of the glass and the reflection of light coming all these different directions, in order to make this look right. So I can't just paint a bunch of cherries, because there are variations within the same cherries of how light is playing off and on these. So yeah, it's really, this is interesting. Let's just jump in though. Let's try something. So let's come in and estimate kind of, okay, if that's the top, let's just start putting some, I'm putting dark, now this red is really translucent, so but I'm putting in my darkest spots to help my eye adjust to what's there. So let me try that. Oop, that's a lot of brown. I don't need that much brown. Okay, so we have kind of in here, we have a really dark spot. Over here we have, now it's kind of looking purple, but let's see, let's just keep pushing that, see what we can create, because we want to start putting in chunks of color, and then we can divide them into unique individual cherries. So these, there's, so we kind of have this shape, then we kind of have a opposite kind of, so right now I'm just kind of going for the shape. Now, so we have a blob of red basically, but it's very translucent because it's obviously. Now let's see if we can explore some of this other. Let's see. Okay, I'm mixing kind of a weird color off the right of the palette here. And I don't know if this is going to work. I may need to lighten it, but we're going to try to see what we can do to see if this works. It's almost like a greenish brown because I mixed raw umber with yellow ochre. So I'm getting kind of a greenish brown, but let me see what happens when I do that. Oop, the red is not dry yet, but what I can do, oops, take my brush, do we'll kind of put some of these shapes in just to give us the idea if we're getting it correct. Okay. Oops. I'm moving things all over. Okay, let me step back and step you back so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. All right, so we have a rough shape. I'm not totally unhappy with this shape, but we'll have to like come in and refine this because the red is bleeding into some of these edges because it's not dry, and we'll have to refine the edges, but we're roughly have things in the right place. Okay, so now that we have this, let's pause for a minute. I should have taken pictures from the beginning. I always do that. I always say that. But okay. We're getting there. Okay. Feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out of my element. So I'm going to step back and work on the background again. Give the other time to dry and also give my eyes a minute to kind of adjust. So let me see. Okay. Cooling this down quite a bit. But I'm bringing it too light, I think. Now, because we're painters and we can make our world, we can make just a suggestion of this light over here. We don't have to paint exactly the reference that's there. So I actually think I want to lighten that up quite a bit so that it's almost like a cool tan kind of now. But I think I really want to keep the ground kind of almost that exaggerated yellow color, because I think it's really pretty with this is very pretty with the contrast of the red. Now I'm covering up my cherries. I know where they're going to be. I know where the ground is going to be, so I can kind of take some of that and make some artistic choices. Okay. Over here, this is where the light is shining most. So I actually want this to be pretty light. This is just to give the illusion that there's a shadow there. We'll see how this turns out. It may not turn out how we want, but we can adjust it as we go. Okay, I'm going to quit playing with this because I can overpaint it, which I think I'm potentially in the process of doing. And let's go back to the cherries. Now with this, we want to, it's still a little tacky, but I think it's because it's wet. But I want to start, again, go in with my kind of almost a purple. And to cut the purple, I'm going to mix a little raw umber with it just so that it is not so red, so much red in the purple. I'm going to take in some, it'll be kind of a deep violet, but let's see. Start trying to put in some, see, kind of, there's kind of a kind of squinting just to put in some dark blocks. Okay. Now that we have a little bit of the dark blocks put in, let's see if we can put in some lighter. Okay. So, and it may not work, but we can begin to suggest somewhere the light is reflecting most. That's what I'm looking for. Where's the light reflecting most? You'll notice that most of my brush strokes are just kind of a little bit almost like X's. Okay. Okay, I'm mixing kind of a cad yellow with this to almost give us an orange red to do some of these spots. Don't know if that's going to work, but notice that with just a few different, it looks like different colors like purple and red and kind of orangish red, but underneath the colors, what we're really doing is creating different values for different values of this, of what's going on. Dark, medium tone, light, and then within each of those areas, we'll do additional microtones as well. Let me see if I can take my, okay, let's see if we can start to define some of this where the light is catching this. Now I'm using kind of a yellow. I'll have to diffuse this, I think, a little bit. But where is the light reflecting off the glass? Now we'll take a little blue into that because the edge of this is kind of a gray color. I think I need a little brown to make it a little less green. this is what we want to do over here, actually. Again, I'm trying to see in shadows, like within the glass. Where is the shadow? That's not going to work. Okay. trying to figure out how to put in the proper shades of color as well as indicate the where the glare of the or where the reflection of the glass is. So that's the challenge right now. Little by little, we're getting there. Okay. Whoop. Oh my goodness, all my paint's falling on the floor. Seated with a little whipped cream on top or in a cherry. Oh yeah. Makes me want cherry pie for sure. The challenge with, or one of the things with this painting that makes it successful is the variation in shades between the lights and darks and making sure those all work. And often it's different shades on the same cherry. You know, you'll have spots that are lighter and then darker and lighter and darker, etc. And that's I think that's one of the challenges to make it look correct. I want to try. Don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try it. All right, we're starting to slowly get to the place I want to get. So, little by little. One step at a time. One step at a time. So what I'm doing over here, which I don't know if you can see, but I'll try to bring this forward. I'm doing some highlights over here, but they're in the shadows, so I'm using more of a purple color on this side and the kind of bright reddish color on this side, so we get the warm and the cool. You can't really tell in there, but that way we get reflected light off of this glass side here onto these grapes, even though they're still in the shadow. But that will help them look like they are receding into, they are receded into the background a little bit. At least that's the goal. But we still want to see them. Here. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And I'm still trying to figure out how to show all the reflections on the glass. I may not be able to duplicate exactly what the what is happening with the reference photo. So I may have to give the illusion of that reflection without painting every single reflection, if that makes sense. So let's see here. Nope, that's too bright. We need to start giving some of these some shape. So Okay, I need to, over here, I need to start carving in some of this shadow. By doing that, it'll help us give more. Needs to dry. It'll help us give more credibility to the shape of the actual cherries here. So, want to just start kind of that's going to help our eye understand where these other cherries are. So this is kind of bizarre, but it's working, right? Okay, by giving ourselves some of this shadow back, now we can come in and do a little more finer detail work. I do want to clear up this red that's in the left-hand corner because I mixed some colors that were no good. So I want to come in and kind of take that out. Let me just mix a little yellow, a little white, see if we can somehow take some of that out. It's going to look really bright now. Now I think what we need to do is come back with even more white. Clean it up a little bit. But it's not horrible. Whoops. Oh, excuse me. I'm groaning and moaning. My back and shoulders are... Okay, so we have that bright. But if you'll notice what actually our eye sees is this kind of light color, and the only reason we see the glass is because there's this light sort of just keep lighting this up. Now that's kind of happening there, but what then we kind of have a, I don't know if it's a gray, a little bit of a gray, but we're going to try it. We're going to mix a little brown with this. What happens when we put a little gray against this yellow? A little bit of a, this is going to be the hardest part, one of the hardest parts to get correct, because we need kind of a, need it to kind of, it's got to blend with the background. It's kind of got a bow. Now, there's a little red, so I'm going to take a little red because there's a subtle reflection from the cherries. And gray. That's what makes this ridge of this there. It's a little, and I need to take some brown into it, I think, because we need a little more right in the center. Need a little more. On the top there. We need a little blue on this side. We need more blue because it's cooler. There's just almost a green, barely visible green there. Maybe a little there. And then we take a little white, mix it in. Now we just need a little bit of a edge right across the top here. Nope, it's not bright enough. I need more white. But I don't want it to be completely, I just want it light. I don't want it white, because otherwise it's just going to distract the eye. Let's see if we can do it. Just a little bit right there. Then it comes across here. There's this reflected light that comes in streaks kind of down the side here. We're going to have to get more specific there. There's some here. And then there's one in the back there. We need just a bit of a dark ridge in the back. It's barely visible, but it goes here. Okay. Well, we're starting to get the glass a little bit. Starting to look like glass, which is good. Now, this I think needs to come some. I don't know how to do this, but I think we're getting there. Just takes the patience of constantly adjusting and looking at what you see and seeing new things, looking at what is actually there. We'll reshape this pedestal, but I just kind of want to get it there. One of the things that I've ignored are these two cherries down front. So let's make those our one of our focal points. Okay. All right, we'll have to let those dry for a second, but let's go back to the others and see what we can do. Let's see. All right. I'm just adding some shape to the, so that some of the cherries stand out with specific clear shape. All right. Now we've got those bright reds that are popping out, but we need to go back and adjust the highlights on them again, just to kind of give their more specific form, indicate where the light is coming. And some of these are going to have kind of reflected light on them, and so that's sort of difficult to indicate, but that's what that's what I'm trying to do here. They'll kind of have a, instead of adding white, I'm going to add yellow, so it's almost an orangish, but it is a lighter value up against the, so this is almost on the left, the highest highlight is on this side, and then this orangish highlight is on the left side. What I have found with this type of painting, months ago, some of you may remember before the robbery, I did a painting of some grapes, a still life of some grapes. And there was light coming from this side and light coming from this side, and there was a bunch of grapes sitting there. And what I've learned through for this type of painting is that it's really important to do a variety of colors and shades almost on each grape, or in this case cherry. And the more often, if you do it correctly, the more you get, more variety you have, the more real it looks. So if you have lights, darks, oranges, reds, purples, pinks, all kinds of different, then all of a sudden you get different dynamics. Let me show you an example here on the wall. Those peppers in the back, there's a wide variety of different colors on those peppers, but it's a repeated application of layers of colors that make it render correctly. And so that's what I'm doing with these cherries, is kind of going in, adding different tones that will hopefully give us a more realistic 3D shape. It's starting to get there. What I need to do is come back. I wonder if this is dry yet. Almost. But I need to do the same to these cherries. I can't forget the cherries down here. I gotta remember this one. It's kind of a, and then I need a light, kind of the pink. To get the lightest. All right. One of the things I see that's missing down here is kind of this weird reflection that happens in the glass that helps us see that there's some other, that it's, we almost need a distortion. Same over here. We need these reflections. Now we're getting a weird, funky look. Whoops. A weird, funky thing happening down here. So I'm going to have to work on this a little more because now it's like warped. But overall, I am kind of pleased with how it's starting to come out. We have a few minutes left. The cherries are looking really good, don't you think? The difficult part of this, like this to me, it really looks like this is behind the cherries. So I think that's rendering correct. This is okay. I think I can still clean this up a little bit. But overall, like if you just glance at it quick, don't look too picky, then I think it's getting there. I could always, oh, you know what? It's actually there. This kind of bright reflection is actually in the reference on this side. So I think I can make that a little more there. That makes me happy. There's a little bit over here. It's a little more. All right, we just need to kind of work that out so it's more, goes more like there. Then I think it'll be more balanced. What do you all think? What do you all think? There's a few of you still watching. Thank you, thank you. When we started this, I didn't know if I could really, if we could get this at all, but I'm fairly pleased with how it's coming out. Fairly pleased, fairly pleased. What am I missing? What is missing? The last piece I need to do are the stems. So I think that's obviously missing. Let's see if we can add some stems, if that will make it look more real. See what we can do with these stems. This is going to be challenge. Okay, now, we need, there's one coming up over here. And there's the one coming up there. And then there's one coming out of the middle there. All right. Using a fairly big brush to put these stems in, so that's kind of disconcerting to me, but let's go. This one comes across here, kind of like that. There's one over, let's put him up here, coming down. Has kind of a, this one, whoops, it's way too big. Hi, Mom and Dad. Thanks. This one is coming together at the last minute, little by little. Okay, there's a little over here, just a suggestion of one. Okay, now put some variation. We need some darks. Dark. But now I need to take my yellow ochre, put it in there with the green and the brown, and give us a light. See if we can lighten this up a little bit. Okay, so now we want to come in and do some highlights. Just where is the Where's the light going to catch? These ones are... Light's going to catch. Problem is, the more paint I put on, the more thick these look, but we don't want them to. We want them to appear thin. Okay, let's see if we can put a, whoops. Hoping that will help. All right. At a distance, they're not too fat, but I may have to adjust them a little bit. Let's, whoops. Try not to ruin it by painting in some more background, but that may help. Now, like, okay, let me, there we go. That helps some. We gotta figure out now, I don't know how to do this, but I need some, maybe that's it. some shadow there. That's not going to work. Need some brown. All right, there's some a little shadow. I think this is coming up too high. So I'm going to take some white, a little tiny bit of yellow, some blue. Because otherwise it looks like the shadow's being cast up the side of the wall. And we're just gonna do that. Okay. Just bring it back down a little bit. There, that looks a little bit better, I think. Still maybe a little lopsided, but we can work with that. I'll have to work on that outside of the live stream because I'm messing it up now. We're almost done. But pretty pleased so far with how it's worked out. I still need to work on the bottom here. I'm looking at it sideways. It looks better, but this is direct on. This is what we have. Let me show you kind of there. So it's a little bit wonky, but if we go like that, you can see how this is a little bit wonky But overall, I'm really pleased with how it's coming together. I just need to maybe work on this a little bit more, the bottom. But overall, it's coming together. What do you all think? No cherries in the house. Guess I'll settle for chocolate chip cookie dough. Ha! That is amazing. Okay, if I shut it off, there you can see kind of what it looks like without the light. So it gives you a little bit better idea what that looks like. I'm pretty pleased with that, y'all. I do have to say. So, all right, I do want to, let me back you all up here. Let me get rid of my palette and my reference photo. So you can kind of see, it's not quite dry on the edge there, but this is what we have for this evening. So pretty good. I accomplished what I wanted to, which was really kind of pushing the envelope with a relatively monochromatic color scheme. The background's all one color. The cherries are pretty much one color. I think I'm starting, especially a subject like this, like I'm starting to understand how the different colors and values work together. The really interesting thing to me is that I have trouble doing this with flowers. I can do this with cherries, I can do it with grapes, I can do it with other things, but I really struggle with flowers. If you saw my feed on Instagram this week, I talked about the challenge that I have with flowers. I can get them to a certain point, but I can never pull them across the finish line. And I'm not sure quite what that is, but I'm really putting some effort into looking at some art of artists who are really good with flowers and trying to improve that. So that's something that I may not work, more, at least right now on the live stream, but it is something behind the scenes that I really want to figure out, and I'm going to keep working on flowers until I can do flowers well. But really pleased with how this turned out overall. So I hope you enjoyed the time with me this evening. Let's see. Dad likes the detail in the stems, especially the ones in the bottom. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So what's interesting, if you look really close, there's not a whole lot of detail on the stems. It's actually, it's hard to see there, isn't it? But it is actually just highlights and shadows that make it look more detailed. But it's a fun thing to figure out how to kind of make that work. But definitely you can tell what they are, and they do look delicious. Now I want like a cherry pie or something. But it will be a few months before we get to cherry season. I remember when I lived in Wisconsin, we would go late summer up to Door County, which is the thumb of Green Bay. So Green Bay and the thumb of the bay that sticks out is Door County. And the major crop there is cherries, and they have big cherry festivals all up and down Door County at the end of summer. It's a fantastic way. It's very congested with lots of tourists, but it's an amazing way. They have cherry ciders, they have cherry jellies and jams, they have cherry pies, they have cherry tarts. Everything you can imagine cherry is there in Door County. So if you live in that area of the country, definitely worth getting over there in the late summer. But yeah, now I'm wanting to go to Door County, have cherries, and we're still probably 6 months off. Or 5 or 6 months off. So anyway, I have enjoyed chatting with you this evening. I thank all of you for sticking around. Hope you have a great weekend or a great week ahead. Be sure to follow on Instagram. If you're not subscribed here on YouTube, please do that. And you can follow on Instagram, as always, for progress photos. And I'll continue to work on my portrait and some of these other projects that I have going. And you'll see those photos there on Instagram. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night, and I will see you next week, Monday evening, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Take care.